And this week we are talking about resources and what resources podcasters need or possibly want. I know I want a lot of different resources. And resources could include different things. I'm thinking resources in terms of online resources because one of the things that I've been working on, taking a little break the last 2 weeks because I actually had surgery. And you know what? Just got, well, I say I just got the bandage off. It was yesterday. It's surgery a week ago, so we had to take a little break there. But should take the bandage off, and now we got just a regular band-aid on. So I'm so glad to have my hands back. But before that, this past month, I was working on putting together some resources for podcasters. So resources can include online resources, and that would be directories. That was one of the focal points of January, trying to go through. And I didn't come up with the directories. Obviously, directories exist, and that's a resource because podcasters want to list their podcast in directories. And when I say directories, I'm being very, very general because there's directories, there's listing in Apple, which is a biggie to be able to have Apple, and that goes out to several different places too. So I mean, directories is a generalized term that I'm using, but not everything where podcasts are listed are actually directories. So it's not just directories. Hi, Martin. Glad to have you here. I started the episode talking about online resources, and it was saying resources can be, actually I said online resources, but I meant resources, and they can be online or they can also be resources like your microphone is a resource. Well, maybe that's stretching it, but I'm thinking what podcasters need and what they want. I want a lot of things. What about you, Martin, as far as podcasting?
Yes.
But what we need. So I was explaining that January was my month to focus on putting together our resources to share with podcasters at podcasterkit.com. And haven't finished that one because I took a break for the hand surgery thing. I have my hands. I got the bandage off yesterday, so I've got hands now. So I'll try to get back to that. But resources and working on directories and explaining that I didn't put the directories together, obviously, but going through them to make sure that a lot of the directories that are advertised as being valid actually work. So I was testing them so that when you actually find that listing of directories on Martin and my site, they really do work. That's not to say that a year from now I'm still, there might be a site that's gone dead, and feel free to let us know so we'll take them off the listing. But I just
Yeah.
went through them in January, and the listing that you will find when I post them within the next month, hopefully within this next month, that's valid because I just went through them in January. So all that babbled. Hi, Martin, and welcome. And how's your week?
Yeah, that's good. It's been pretty busy with different things. I've been in this morning creative mornings. So and that's started in America and it's all over the world. Their motto is everyone is creative, everyone is welcome. Welcome so to come and join. So it's very inspiring. So
That's
and
good.
talking about directories, I remember how Rob Walsh of the feed, the official podcast, Libsyn, he did that, I think, on his behalf for a long time, his own like listing and compiling different
Mm-hmm.
directories. But then he also noted that this is defunct or this is, I don't know, have any information about it or this is should be valid. And it was a long list. It's a hard task to keep this up to date.
Oh,
So
definitely. I mean, that could be a full-time job right there. That's why
yeah,
I only know that I went through mine, I think that was 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I literally painstakingly, and I'm not trying to brag, but I mean, you remember because I was emailing you back and forth. It's like, wow, this one's dead. This one, I literally went through all of them and I have this database. And I did use Rob's listing from, yeah, from, because I have Social Web Cafe hosted there. I
yeah.
haven't been updating it, so, but I went through the listing there, and there's quite a few on there. That wonderful list, but there's also quite a few dead. Not his fault,
No,
of course.
and that's what they write. So and coming that in a way full circle. now that we should then both protect and secure and enhance the RSS and the podcasting 2.0, and that's in a way thanks to not that they slipped Apple, but they covered it for a long time, but they didn't develop it. And then it was this deplatforming thing that happened some years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dave and Adam said we should do something about it. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
total open API. And then he then said everyone is open to use it. So, and they was already planning if something would happen with them,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak.
Right.
So
God
that's
forbid,
also
but
something to take
yeah.
into account. So the
Yep.
podcastindex.org, there you have it all, so to speak. And they are also open very much to get feedback, input if something is not working with resources. So that's great. And then other could use that and do their own index in a way. And it's good also that it is in different places
And
because
they've been really
then
helpful. They tie
yeah,
in with True Fans too, as far
yeah.
as the update at True Fans then
So
beams over beams
yeah,
over.
and
Sounds like I'm
that's
watching
how
Star Trek now.
Sam Sam was doing at the beginning. First, you have to then not a waiting list, but you have to apply
Mm-hmm.
and get on there, and then he opened it up to the whole podcast index. But he also double checked and see that it was valid,
Yep.
and then you could also that's I think is really call to action to claim your own podcast in a positive way on TrueFans because then you could get extra features and you could be more involved in a way and you could ask for constructive feedback and doing tickets in that way like how to say if it's any bugs or
I took
suggestions.
I took a clue from you because
Yeah,
I was putting in bugs,
yeah,
and he responded to me and it was like because I had one where it was like wait this is not updating over at Podcast Index right or whatever and
yeah,
there's a permission error there so he sent me a message on that one because I was getting really geeky and he's like it's nice to see that you're geeky
yeah,
on
that's
this
good.
one but yeah so that was really yeah I thought well hey if Martin's sending over these bug reports. I think I'm going to mention, not that I went looking for bugs, but I thought he wants to hear these, so I
Yeah,
will go send this over and
and I
I'll
did that
finally.
right now. It's not a bug, but it's like a suggestion. So I will wanted to write a comment to podcast index podcasting 2.0 podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a long text that I wanted to write, and it was more than 500 characters. So maybe you could make it more short and sweet, but I wanted to say certain things. So then I asked maybe that could be a suggestion. But at the same time now for the record, I could understand that you have to limit in some way, because
Right,
otherwise it could be a
right.
risk that somebody would copy and paste a whole book or whatever, and it will, crash the whole system.
I had
So
that on Discord. I was writing
yeah,
this big long message, and it's like you've gone over the message limit. So I just cut. I do in paragraphs, on my texting thing. So that well, I'll just cut this paragraph out and put another message. But
yeah. And now, totally by the way, because I have some on my bucket list and to do, and when you have something and you are so, how to say, solve oriented, Deborah, and I have now with the all Albi in cloud thing, and I
mm-hmm.
know that it's in a way due to me that the channel closed and the liquidity and whatnot, and I got the like maybe I shouldn't do it this at the moment, but I understand the value of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that I have to take care of. And
I
then,
can be considered a resource as far as setting up, having your server,
yeah,
your, or I
and
should
then
say your
learn.
hub, your
Yeah.
Albi, yeah.
So that's one thing. And then also to get this with Rode USB Mini
Mm-hmm.
connected with other Rode USB Mini and the Rode Connect. And that I have also to talk to them how to get that working.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's what you have on your head now. The
The headphones
yeah, the
or the
closed
blue hair? Which one? No,
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
the wig. No, but closed caption I almost said, and now I
You
said it,
did.
but it's the closed back headphone,
Mm-hmm.
the AKG. You say it like
Yep.
that,
Yep.
and
And
it's
the
originally
K92. Yeah.
a Swiss or Austrian brand, but it's now
Mm-hmm.
owned by an American brand. And I searched around for that, so I will probably go to my favorite store, and they are so super friendly, customer friendly, and you have always a great experience. So I don't know what school they are doing or education at that chain store. It's like I don't know how you compare it in America, but it's if you would say like Radio Shack. I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
good they were or whatever, but I could imagine like a
I
store
used
that
to
you
hang out at Radio Shack.
yeah
Can you
you could
tell?
go
When I was
there.
a little kid, I was like eight
Yeah,
years old, and I'm going to Radio Shack. I mean, all these adults there, and I'm 8 years old and
yeah,
hanging out in Radio Shack. Yeah.
and they will take everyone, old and young and newbie or tech guy, to in a
Mm-hmm.
friendly way
Yep.
reply. So this, if you think of that, and version in Sweden, and so they responded on the monitor. I said that talked about it. Which one do you suggest? And they suggested other headphones that they did, and they don't have it themselves, but they suggested others.
Okay. You
And
mean other brands, or did they
yeah,
know it?
because
Did
they
they?
didn't have this
Right.
closed.
Right. But
But
did they
now
know what
they
closed back was?
was they
Did they know what closed back was?
I think so, because the funny thing is that product that you have now on your head, I think it's K92 or something like that.
K92. Yep.
They
Yep.
have that in the store now, but then you have to order it online, so you
Okay.
can't go to the store. So I
Okay.
will go then to the store and say, "What do you think about this?" And then show them this nice email that they recommended other brands that they don't
Okay.
have themselves, but they said these are. It was Sony, it was Audio Technica, and then it was German called not Budweiser, but Bud, yeah,
Budzil.
Heinzer, or it's
Budzil.
yeah, some maybe
It's
some
like Budzzeil
yeah,
or something. Yeah.
yeah. We could include that in show notes later on. And very everyone is quality, and now they got this. What do you have? So then I probably buy from them and order it, and I could shop around and find
Mm-hmm.
somebody else cheaper.
I like
But
Sony.
yeah,
I mean, they have a. They're good quality too. It just
but I
depends
like the
on
style,
which ones.
and
I
now
tend to like the sound
yeah,
quality that these guys.
and what
Yeah.
Michael was showing, and
Mm-hmm.
also I like the style of it. So yeah, so that was
In case anyone
parenthesis.
seeing this live streaming are wondering, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to. The live stream last week, as far as Martin and Michael, my husband and partner, um, the CEO of this
Yes.
podcast, whatever
Yeah.
whatever label you want to give him,
Is
expert
it
on
Seaside Records?
yes, Seaside
Yeah.
Records. So he was talking about the closed back headphones and the whole thing. We won't repeat all that, but it live streamed last week, and it'll be coming out then in forthcoming. I was going to say next week, but I don't want to say that and then take like a week off or something. So then it's the next whatever. In a very soon, it's coming out in the podcast episode. So I'll put it that way.
Good.
So when you hear, I was going to say when you hear this one, but actually the
Um,
podcast
ba-
episode's coming out before this one.
yeah, Back to the Future. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
And,
sense.
and maybe that to joke, maybe this to have a live show, live streaming, maybe that's good. So then you could say this was recorded or live, this and that,
Hmm.
and then you never know when it will show up for different reasons. But that we'll
Right,
talk
right.
about also. You want to plan and you want to be scheduled, but when you have a new podcast, that's that's a challenge. But we have things, and so that's the last point. I will reach out to some individuals that are very interested to be on the show again, and we have some
Excellent.
other that coming
Excellent.
back, and then it's this mixing and matching, and that could be a resource also. How do you book guests at the beginning? It's a challenge, but then it will start to roll by itself
Well, that was
over
always
time.
the plan too. That
Yeah,
sometimes, with the way life goes, the plan
yeah,
was always to have the live streaming at this time,
yeah,
whether we have a guest or it's just the two of us. But we might have, five guests that we live stream, or maybe they don't want to live stream, whatever. That we
yeah,
we have the recordings. We'll always have recordings because otherwise you can't have a podcast if you don't have recording. But we might have 5 1 week and then maybe none the next week, and maybe we restream whatever. We always have that streaming going on Friday,
Yep.
but then we have continuous podcast episodes. So that was the plan I had, so that if we want to take off a week for holiday or whatever, we still have content that's still coming out. So you have live streaming and podcast episode. Now
Yeah.
I confess, I did not put a podcast episode out last week. I'm sorry. My hands just were not cooperating after the hand surgery. So I I did what I did not plan on doing, and that is I took a week off to have my hands heal. So if people will forgive me for that,
Yes,
thank you. I didn't
they
think on
will.
that one. So thank you.
That's
But I'm
good.
glad to have them, and they're now bandage free, and so the only direction is up from here. So that's good.
Good. Great
That's
to hear.
good. And if anyone watching this is wondering, I thought I was going to go with normal hair today, but I thought, hey, you know what? I'm getting used to blue hair, so I thought I'll
Yeah.
just go with blue hair. So I know you can't hear that on a podcast, but you can see it if you're watching it.
Yeah.
Besides, it's a great way to advertise if anyone wants to tune in. I hope you don't mind, Martin. Can I advertise? Is that
Yeah.
okay with you?
Yes.
If you want to tune in on TikTok, I could really use the support. So
Mm.
3 o'clock on weekdays, and just so happens 3 o'clock this Sunday. So thank you for letting me advertise, Martin.
Yeah. Great.
But I have to get people in so I can impress my coaches
Yeah.
over at Gravitas Q.
Yeah. That's good.
But and that was another. I was thinking that as far as resources, that's because we're doing that social cafe tomorrow.
Mm.
Eileen can be
Yeah.
in, and we're talking about vertical streaming, which TikTok is a form of vertical streaming. But that's another resource as far as, and that also fits under promotion and advertising for podcasters. But it's another method of, like, I don't know, would you call that a resource? Resource is a broad term, but as far
Yeah.
as resource for promoting
Yes.
your podcast, and TikTok is a resource. Well, okay, I say TikTok's a resource. That's a whole separate podcast episode because you have to be careful.
Yeah.
TikTok doesn't like it if you advertise and get them off your site,
Mm.
or off. I'm sorry, off their site. So
Yeah.
they kind of want you to, if you're doing TikTok live.
Yeah. They want you to be on their, of course, their
Hmm.
platform and
Right.
whatnot. And
I
that's
get
like
that.
we could say now when we are doing live. That was what Todd Cochran, and he was talking about that with Rob, talking about because they have been doing live and a video for a long
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
and then he came around and thought by himself, oh, I talked about some AI robots, and I had it in the showroom, and I talked about it how it was, and I didn't explain it for the future listener, because when he showed a picture, the live people could see it, but of course in the future the recording with the audio they will not see it. But
Right.
then of
Right.
course you
Right.
could add them to the chapters, and you could have an image, you could include it if you have an Instagram account like a resource and link it in the show notes.
Exactly.
So you
You
could,
could do
and
that.
of course you could edit it, or you could, that the listener will have their own imagination. So that's it's funny to see that, and the different resources, and that was also something what we're doing now at the Creative Mornings this morning. I talked to my good friend Vida La Vida, and she mentioned and asked something about Facebook now with live. She was live streaming the recording, and she tagged me,
Hmm.
and people liked that, and it was interesting topic about is like if you're, I don't know if I pronounced it right, but divergent, or if you're not so-called normal, quotation air
Hmm.
marks, if you have
Hmm.
like we call it in Swedish, we call it a letter combination, like
What they say, it's something divergent as far like
yeah,
if you're
or typical,
ADHD, or if
yeah,
you're
yeah,
or
that's,
yeah,
so that guy who presented, he say it could be your superpowers, but it could
mhm,
also be a hard thing in a work environment. And
mhm,
he did all these kind of things. So that was fascinating. And then she was live streaming it, and then she said after we finished that how will it work in future with Facebook? And then same day, or if it was yesterday, it came from Facebook that they will not store live sessions anymore for a longer period. and
But
that's
they will for a
yeah,
period of time, right? But just
yeah.
not a
But
long
then it
period.
was deleted. So that was again giving arguments for Todd Cochran saying have it in your own space, your own
Mm-hmm.
domain.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, then you could debate with yourself how much space could I afford? Will this be okay to save for the future, or is it really live? Or what do you call that special word in English when it's like it comes and goes, like a Snapchat or TikTok or that it disappears after some. So it's
Oh,
like
the I
ephemeral. It has
the
like a Latin
temporary.
word that is like it's here and now, and then it will disappear tomorrow, for example.
I know what you're talking about, but I
Yeah,
can't think what word. I mean, I
yeah,
am thinking Snapchat is what's coming to
yeah,
mind, and
and it
I'm
has a
not.
special
Yeah,
word for it, and I think it's from coming from Latin, and
right,
it's the
right.
translation is that it's here and now, but it will dissolve or disappear in
Mm-hmm.
the near future. So
Yeah, the word eludes me at the
yeah,
moment, but but yeah, it's I can picture it,
yeah,
or I should say I'm picturing it not being there, but
good.
but on that one.
That's okay.
But that I was thinking in terms of resources. That's another thing that people should think about. Well, we've been saying that for a long time. As far as you have two things that a person has as far as their podcasts, and that is their email list as far
Mm,
as subscribers. As long as they make sure they keep a copy of it and not just that it's held wherever, if you have Get Response or you have, wherever it's held that sorry, I said, I'm not trying to advertise Get Response. I said that because I have Get Response, but I'm not trying to say that to convince
mm.
people to have Get Response. But
And
maybe they have
I have Beehive, I
Aweber
could say
or
then.
Beehive, yes,
Yeah,
Aweber or,
yeah,
whatever it is. But make sure you're downloading your list so that you have a copy of it. But then you also have your website. Otherwise,
I
everything else. I mean, whether it's Facebook or it's
yeah,
even
yeah,
Captivate for that matter. I mean, keep a copy of your. And we're saying Captivate because Studio Fusion is hosted by
yeah,
Captivate. Thank you, Captivate. We love you.
yeah.
But keep a copy of your podcasts. Keep a copy of all of your content so that
I
if it
I
goes
have done that
down,
mistake. Now
yeah.
I interrupt you. Blog Talk Radio,
Yep.
where episodes there that you can't listen to anymore because I don't have them as a host anymore. So they
Mm-hmm.
are gone forever. But in a way, yeah, things happen, and you learn
Yep.
from that.
Yep.
So
I have someone, a friend of mine. In fact, maybe I shouldn't say this. I'll just say, let's put it this way. So I'm not saying it. Theoretically, he played piano for me. I'll just put it that way
mm,
as a singer. But he contacted me, and maybe I shouldn't announce this, but, but I'm not going to do this. But it was like, hey, a friend of mine had videos and stuff, and a friend of hers. I'll just put it loosely. You can imagine what I'm saying.
yeah,
Okay, did something not nice and actually remove them and destroy them. Can you go hack this person's account? And by the way, he works for the government and do something not nice to him. I'm like, first of all, I'm not doing that, especially when he works for the government. I'm not going to go to jail. Just for,
yeah.
I'm not doing that. Not touching that one. So anyone hearing this, I didn't do it theoretically or otherwise. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing anything illegally. But note to self: don't have that be your only copy. Make sure you have, so if someone's going to do something not nice to you and go destroy your content, you have
Mm.
another copy.
And now I'm totally out of a tangent, so to speak. So I've been thinking of that when it's game over, so to speak. And Dave and Adam talked about that with Podcast Index. What will happen if Dave can't be contacted for something? What will
Mm-hmm.
they do? Do they have a backup? And that's why they wanted to have more and more people download the API, and also
Mm-hmm.
that they want to have this value for value that people could send PayPal donations, whatever, so they could keep it running.
Right,
And
right,
if something happened,
right,
they could do it on bare bones and
right.
keep it. But I have been thinking that when you are no more and around, then you can't pay your hosting bill, right? If you haven't set it up, and
Right.
maybe how it should be. But
Mm-hmm.
then I wonder, have you thought about a resource like archive.org? They were hacked some time ago,
Oh wow, I hadn't heard that,
and
but I use
things
them all
was
the
disappeared.
time.
But
Yeah.
I know that some have a podcast on only on archive because it's like a free service and it should be forever. But you can't in a way count on that
You
either.
can't count on that either. I
Yeah,
mean, I use them a lot, but
yeah,
you can't count on anything being forever.
yeah,
Good point on resources. Well, you know what? I hate to say this that we're actually coming up on our time, but I mean it's like we just introduced this topic of resources, but
yeah.
guys, start thinking about the fact that nothing lasts forever, not even our lives. Sorry to
Mm.
say that, it's such a downer moment, but not even our lives last forever. So definitely think in terms of stuff being temporary,
Yeah,
and that
and
you
it's
gotta
like your tune, right?
Yes, yes, and that is our. Oh my goodness! Thank you, Martin. Thank you, thank you. Yes, only temporary. And with that, if you're listening to the podcast version of this, you will hear the tune and only temporary. So, thank you for tuning in. Oh, and our call to action is: how about list the things? Is this okay? List the things that you use as a resource, or you can, you know, tune it up a little bit and list what you would like as a resource, or something that has to do with resources, whether that's what you have as resources, what you want as resources,
Yeah,
something that has to do. And again, if you're on our community, which is studiofusion.club, you can
yeah,
post it there. And even if there's not a section where you can post it, make a section, make a post,
yeah.
post it.
That's good. And I have adding a special bonus there. As you know, we are true fans of TrueFans.fm. So they have a new feature that I recently used and testing it. You could write a note to yourself when
Ah,
you, for example, listen
yes,
to a
yes.
podcast episode. Say this I like, or on this minute mark, I should check that out later on, for your own eyes. But that's pretty neat feature.
And you can do that while you listen to this podcast when it
Yeah.
comes out. And then you get, if you do that and let us know, you get extra bonus points for
Yes.
that one. For the, let's see, okay, we're catching up.
Yeah.
For your call to action on this one. Sound good?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Martin, and thank you for all of you who tuned in. And
It's a
we will
bra.
catch you same time, same place next week on Studio Fusion. Oh, and I'm Deborah. Oh, I guess it says that.
Yeah.
but,
I'm Martin.
and, and we'll see you next time, same place.
Bye for now.